Page 57. What do you mean? Henry sat up straight. I think it looks neat too, but how could it look happier than the others? I don't think you can call them happy. Well, what about sad? That little metal one looks sad, and she pointed again. It was the smallest door Henry had uncovered, no more than 4 inches tall by 5 inches wide, with a keyhole on the left side. Its metal surface was grooved, and it still held bits of plaster. A small black panel was inset toward the bottom. I don't think it looks sad at all, Henry said. It's been stuck in the wall for however long. It's probably glad to be out again. I don't think it wants to be in our attic, Henrietta said. It looks like it's supposed to be somewhere else. What do you think the black part's made of? She leaned forward and picked at it with her fingernail. I think it's plastic. What? Henry stuck his finger beside Henrietta's. Plastic's not that old, is it? He scratched and felt something pile up against his fingertip. Oh, he said, and sat back up. What? What is it? Henrietta grabbed at his finger to look at it. I think it's paint, Henry said, picking the black out from beneath his nail. He looked back at the little, page 58, panel in the door. It must be glass that someone painted over. Really? Henrietta began scratching at the panel with both hands. We could see through it with a flashlight. Henry! Aunt Dottie's voice drifted up 2 flights of stairs. Your lunch is ready. Come on down. Henrietta, you too if you're up there. Henrietta sat up quickly. Can we just pretend like we didn't hear? Henry asked. No, then she'll just come up. Let's go. We can do it later. Henrietta stood up and pulled Henry to his feet. Henry! We're coming, Mom! Henrietta yelled, and the 2 of them thumped down the stairs. Henrietta stopped suddenly, and Henry bumped into her. She bent over and picked up a piece of plaster off a stair. She looked up and down the entire flight and made a face at Henry. Mom will notice, she said. Anastasia and Penelope were already eating when they got there. Uncle Frank sat between them, working Henry's knife across a stone. 2 plates of grilled cheese and 2 glasses of milk sat across the table from the girls. What have you been doing, Henrietta? Anastasia asked, chewing. I thought you said you were going to come back out and play. I did, Henrietta said, and she and Henry sat down. But I saw Henry and we started talking. What about? Anastasia asked. Zeke Johnson? She picked at a lump of cheese between the bread crusts, stretching it into a string. Henrietta glared at Anastasia. You're being rude, Penelope said. I'm not, Anastasia said. She said she was coming back, and I just want to know what they talked about. You 2 always talk about Zeke. Girls, Uncle Frank said, I don't think it matters. You can all play after lunch. Henry looked at Henrietta. Her jaw was locked shut. Penelope was red. We were talking about lost doors and secret cities and how to find them, Henry said, and he took a bite of his sandwich. Fun, Penelope said. I found a secret door in the bathroom once. What you found, Aunt Dottie said, entering the kitchen with Frank's sandwich, was a bunch of mouse droppings. And listen, Henry, Penelope said. Mouse droppings, page 60, and shower mat. You know those rubber things with all the suction circles on the bottom? There was one of those. So what'd you do with it? Henry asked. Set traps for mice and closed it back up, Uncle Frank said. I can show it to you, Penelope offered, if Dad will let me take it back off. Nope, Dottie yelled from the kitchen. I don't want you breaking the paint all up again. There's a more important door your uncle can show you, Henry. It's much harder to get open than the bathroom panel. She walked into the room, drying a skillet with a rag. Frank, I ran into Gladys and Billy at the store yesterday. Do you know what he said to me? The girls went very quiet. Frank didn't look up. Hello? He asked, and kept rubbing Henry's knife. Dottie hit him with her rag. He said that, and so did she. But the important part was what he said. Frank ever get that door open? Do you know what I said? What I said was, are you ready for this? I said no. Ah, Frank said. He lifted Henry's knife up to his mouth and dabbed the blade with his tongue. That's my honest wife. I appreciate you looking out for my dignity. And then I said I would give him a call to come by and open it. I'd rather not be a liar, Frank. She crossed her arms. The skillet dangled on one hip, the rag on the other. That's excellent, wife. I appreciate that. I'll get that door open and accommodate you spaciously within the room hiding behind it. But Billy Mortensen will have nothing to do with it. He threw a baseball game in the state playoffs our senior year, and you know it. Frank glanced up. I'll only see him socially. He'll never bill me. We could pay up front, Dottie said, and walked back into the kitchen. The sounds of metal scratching on flint and slowly chewed grilled cheese dominated the room. Finally, Frank set Henry's knife down, ate his sandwich in 2 bites, and drained his milk. He stood up and put his hands on his hips. Women and children, behind the lines, he yelled, and all the girls jumped. Henry froze with his mouth open. Bang the drum slowly, and ask not for whom the bell's ringing, for the answer's unfriendly. He threw up a fist in the air. 2 years have my black ship sat before Troy, and today its gates shall open before the strength of my arm. Dottie was laughing from the kitchen. Frank looked at his nephew. Henry, we play baseball tomorrow. Today we sack cities. Dots, fetch me my tools. Down the French. Once more into page 62. The breach, and fill the wall with our coward dead. Half a league, hey, batter, batter. Frank brought his fist down to the table, spilling Anastasia's milk, and then he struck a pose with both arms above his head and his chin on his chest. The girls cheered and applauded. Aunt Dottie stepped back into the dining room carrying a metal toolbox. Frank sniffed. You know me well, wife. I thought those were in the basement. They were. You should have been an English teacher, Frank. What are we going to do? Henry asked. We are going to build a wooden horse, stick you inside it, and offer it up as a gift, Frank answered. Burn your bridges when you come to them, Dottie said. She smiled at Frank, picked up the empty plates, and walked back into the kitchen. Can we watch? Henrietta asked. You, Frank said, can go play in the barn, the yard, the fields, or the ditches, so long as you are nowhere near the action. Come on, Henry. The girls moaned and complained while Henry followed his uncle up the stairs. At the top, they walked all the way around the landing until they faced the very old wooden door to Grandfather's bedroom. Uncle Frank set down his tools. Today's a day, Henry. I can feel it. I never told your aunt this, but my favorite book's in there. I was reading it to your grandfather near the end. It's been due back at the library for a while now, and it'd be nice to be able to check something else out.